A very interesting aspect of this bill is any legislation for a policy maker. Now, law alli, in the very first classes on law school, namige interpretation of statutes alli, they start teaching us this concept of harmonious interpretation. The challenge for any lawmaker is how to harmoniously balance two apparently opposite concepts and objects. How do we balance two diametrically opposite ideas which are very much essential to make a systematic society run? This is a challenge for any policymaker. What the government led by the Honorable Prime Minister has done very successfully in this legislation is they have tried to and succeeded in harmoniously balancing privacy as well as processing, regulation as well as space for innovation and freedom, balance between the sovereign interests of the state as well as the individual rights of a private individual. This is something that this bill has so beautifully and successfully managed to address. Yake, I'll give an example. If there is blanket regulation that you cannot process data at all, what will happen to the 90,000 plus startups which have just entered the startup revolution? All of them will die a very natural death. So you need to make space for innovation. At the same time, you should also make space for protecting the privacy of an individual. This is balanced. At the same time, a government has many sovereign needs. For example, yadon terrorist attack, yadon module ide, sleeper cell ide. Just as we speak today, NIA has arrested 15 plus people in Bengaluru who are suspected of fomenting terror activities in this. So whether it is preventing waging war on the state, whether it is protecting any of these very important sovereign interests, or maintaining the interests of a private organization or the privacy of an individual citizen. This is another very important balance that needed to be struck. E bill nalli, both of these very important aspects, ensuring that the government does not overreach and does not peep into our personal lives, as well as the fact that the government needs enough material, enough ammunition, enough strength to maintain law and order, peace and security and sovereignty, integrity of the. That is also something that. The other important aspect, Sharadji was mentioning about this in the course of his remarks. When the first version came, where Rajivji was also a member of the JPC, later he got promoted and the good fortune of contributing much closely in the making of the legislation. There were various categories of personal data that were envisaged. The earlier version of the bill. Personal data ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಬಿಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕ್ಯಾಟಗರಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು. ಕೆಲವುದು ಕ್ರಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಪರ್ಸನಲ್ ಡೇಟಾ, ಸೆನ್ಸಿಟಿವ್ ಪರ್ಸನಲ್ ಡೇಟಾ, ಈ ತರ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕ್ಯಾಟಗರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಡೇಟಾನ ಬೈಫರ್ಕೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತು. And the original thinking was that certain aspects of personal data, which is not critical, which is not sensitive, can be processed here, some cannot be processed. ಈ ತರ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ different categories of personal data ಗೆ different aspects of regulations ಹಾಕೋತಾರ. The second version of the bill that has now become the Act has completely done away with this concept of different categories of personal data. There is only one category of personal data, and it is all-inclusive category of personal data. So every aspect of personal data of every single individual, every single Indian, is to be treated with the same amount of respect and the same amount of sensitivity. This is again something which is very different from what GDPR or other jurisdictions have envisaged.